on the ground. I'm not coming down. I want to go higher, higher, higher than that.
Welcome back to the Business is Human podcast. I'm your host, Rebecca Fleetwood Hession, and we're here to bring you episodes that blend meaningful work with profitable success. Here to steward what I call the age of humanity. I believe if we transform the way we work, we can transform the way that we live. As always, my friendly request, if you like what you hear, hit subscribe so you don't miss any episode, and leave a review to tell the other humans that they might like it too. Always looking to help you and connect with others. All right, let's get into it, shall we? Welcome back to the show. Last couple of weeks, I have broken down a lot of the outline of the yet-to-be-titled book that I'm writing right now about the age of humanity and a new definition of success. And we have focused on the manager's dilemma that, nobody wants to manage anymore because work sucks. And we've taken a look at leaders' fear and identity crisis. So what if you're an employee and you're stuck in this system that isn't changing and hasn't been changing for a long, long, long time? What if your manager's burned out? What if your leader leads from fear? What if nobody tells you that your work matters? Well, I have good news today, y'all. You don't need permission to reclaim your value. And even better news, once you know your worth, no broken system can take it away. Now, isn't that some really good news? Let's break it down. Because I know that you work hard, you care, you probably do what's asked the majority of the time, and yet you're exhausted and sometimes questioning if it's even worth it. Maybe you've even thought, you know what, if I just work harder, they'll finally notice. Or if I just hit this next goal, I'll finally feel like I've made it in some way. But no matter what you do, it never feels like it's enough. Sound familiar? Well, you're not alone. Here's some stats to comfort you. 87% of employees feel disconnected from their work. It's from a Gallup poll. 60% of employees say they only hear from their boss when something goes wrong. Burnout isn't just from working too much. It's from feeling like your work doesn't matter. Because the root of burnout isn't overwork. It's the belief that you have to prove your worth instead of knowing that you already have it. So, the punchline is, if you're waiting for your boss or your manager or your company to tell you that you matter, you're handing them the power over your identity. And it's time to take it back. Let's look at a couple of reasons why this is happening. The first one is that work is built on external validation. And these are reasons that we as employees struggle with our worth. First one is work is built on external validation. We have been trained for decades to measure success externally. Grades in school, promotions at work, performance reviews, raises. But here's the problem with that. If success equals external validation, what do we do if we don't get that? Our boss is burned out, our leader's checked out, the company's not doing well, there's no raises to be had. What if we don't get that? What if worth equals approval from our boss? What do we do if we've got a cruddy boss that's burned out and checked out? So, if your value depends on someone else's recognition, you will always be at their mercy. You've given your power away. So the shift, the practical, tactical shift that we have to make is to reclaim your worth without external validation. And this is a big shift because the pattern that you've experienced through grades and parenting and work experience has all been based on this external validation. And so this is a big shift. I don't say this, I'm not trying to be trite. This is a significant shift, but it's the only one that makes sense if you're going to reclaim your sense of worth and purpose. So dig into this with the belief that it's possible and that it's going to take some effort because it's swimming against societal norms and cultural expectations. And that's the only way that we're going to get ourselves out of this mess that we're in now. And so we all need to be willing to swim against the current for a bit until we can shift it. A couple of things that you can ask yourself. Would I still find meaning in my work if no one noticed? You may be saying, well, that's what's happening right now. But this is a different question. You're not expecting people to notice. You're just showing up to do the work. Would you find meaning in it if you weren't just frustrated that you don't get recognition? But if you didn't expect the recognition, would the work itself, could you find some meaning in it? Another question to ask yourself. Do I measure success by my effort or just the outcome? Do you only feel great when you've checked everything off the list? Or can you also feel accomplished when you know that you've shown up the best you could be that week, even if you didn't get it all done? Could you set that expectation for yourself to be different? Another one. What parts of my job energize me even when no one praises me? What do I love to do that I'm good at, that I can feel a sense of satisfaction because I love to do it and I'm good at? So the shift is from needing approval to really owning your impact that you can have with your work. So don't wait for the recognition. You pay attention to your own growth. You are the one that is showing up and asking yourself, how is this making a difference to the team today? And you know what? Grab a journal and start to document some of these things. So instead of asking, am I good enough? Waiting for someone to give you the answer, start asking, where do I grow, prosper, flourish, thrive, make an impact? And start making note of those things so that you can start steering your career towards those things that really light you up. When you deeply know your worth, your boss's approval or lack of it no longer dictates your self-worth. Stop giving your power away. I love a good weekly sit down and ask yourself, how was I valuable this week? Where did I make a difference? Even if it was just I had coffee with a colleague and now they feel better about their work. Or I created a new spreadsheet and put pivot tables together that help leaders analyze the data. You know what you're good at. Start paying attention to it. You can sit down each week and give yourself your own little weekly evaluation and choose to celebrate the effort and the impact that you have each week. And if you do that and keep it in a journal or keep it in a file somewhere, whatever practice makes sense for you, and you can review that once in a while for yourself. I have one of those. Some people call it a smile files or whatever. I love to look back over and go, you know what? I'd forgotten that I did that or that happened. Dang, I'm good. We don't have to give our power away, but we can pay attention to those things that matter most to us and the impact that we're having for others. Okay, here's another thing that gets in the way of being able to feel worthy. No one in our lives really asks us what we really want as we're growing up. School, parents, work. There was no, what are your unique gifts and talents conversation in most people's history. Trust me, I know this as someone who has spent coaching time with thousands of people and asked these questions, usually in their 30s, 40s, 50s. They just look at me and they aren't sure because nobody's asked them that before. And it is a profound shift. Most people spend more time planning a vacation than they do their career because we're told what to do, but rarely are we asked, what excites you? What do you love to do that you're good at? What feeds you energy? You're just trying to keep up instead of designing your work and career for you. Very rarely has someone paused enough to say, what do you really want? And given you the space to think about those things. I put a survey out on LinkedIn when I was writing my first book and asked some of these questions, what does a thriving life look like? And it was amazing. The responses were, oh my gosh, I should think about this. Why don't I know this? I'm glad you asked. I need to sit down and figure this out. So you're not alone. Don't feel any shame about it if you think, oh my gosh, I don't know. But it's too easy to point at the problem being out there. But if we haven't sat down and decided what we want, that's where we start. Because the truth is, work isn't supposed to drain you. It's supposed to challenge you, but it's also meant for the kind of challenge that helps you grow, like a few more squats or lifting heavier weights. There's supposed to be some challenge. It's work. You're being paid for it. But the work shouldn't feel like draining survival. Also, you don't need a perfect job to do meaningful work. And a perfect job is, something that's newsworthy or, I don't know, everything goes well all the time, or it seems, sexy and cool. You can find meaning in cleaning the counters at the restaurant. I bartended and waitress for a lot of years. And there was a lot of times that I actually look at my days as a waitress and a bartender and think, I kind of knew my meaning and impact and purpose in those days more so than in a corporate world, because it was this, face-to-face, human-to-human serving. And sometimes I say to myself, if all else fails, I'm a great bartender. I'll go back and do that. Meaningful work means you're paying attention to how your work matters and that you get to decide. And the most important shift is just to stop waiting for someone else to create your life for you. You have value and worth right here and now, today. You don't have to wait for a promotion or permission. So, okay, how do you define your own value and work in your strengths? Again, this is asking yourself these questions. What kind of work energizes me? That thing that I just love to do. I love to write and create and speak and do these things. You may love to do spreadsheets and organize data, and it's completely different. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. It's what lights you up, what makes you feel good at the end of a long, hard day because you've done work that feels good to you. So what makes you feel valuable? Here's one that I really like. If money wasn't an issue, what kind of work would you want to do? I mean, come on, be honest with yourself. It's going to be work. It's going to be challenging. But if you're going to be challenged, you're going to be tired. In my first book, I wrote about two kinds of tired. One tired is you fall in bed at the end of the day and you think, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do that again tomorrow. And then there's that striving tired, not knowing who you are, trying to prove yourself. Thriving tired is when you fall in bed exhausted at the end of the day and you think, I am so tired, but I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going at it again. It just energizes you in a different way. Another question you can ask is, where do I feel most what's called in flow, where you just kind of lose a sense of time while you're doing those things? And once you've spent some time asking yourself those questions, and I recommend that you ask yourself those questions on a regular basis. Maybe each week you dedicate a part of your morning or evening and ask yourself those questions to see what kind of patterns start to show up that inform you about who you are and your uniqueness. One of the challenges is a lot of times people's unique gifts and talents don't feel all that special because they're so innate to who we are. But I promise you, that's what makes them so great. It's because they are so innate to who you are. And so by you shining a light on this and focusing on it each week, you start to pay more attention to who you are and what you're great at. And then start to shape your work, even if you don't have a great boss or a great company. Look for opportunities within the role you have right now to work in your strengths. Start having career conversations with yourself. Don't wait for your boss. Ask yourself, okay, how am I going to show up differently today? How am I going to make a difference today? And sometimes it's about how you show up as a human with and for your team or your customers that matters most, that makes you feel the best. So even if your boss is being a jerk and doesn't appreciate and just wants faster, more, better, cheaper, you're going to focus on your client, Joe. And when Joe said, you know what, I really appreciate you. You make this so much better. That's what you're taking home with you. That's what you're putting in your pocket. And you're pulling that back out when you get home and writing in your journal, today was a good day because Joe appreciates me. Or maybe it's that colleague that needs some support and you can help them. And even while your leader is sending messages that just make everybody cringe, you're paying attention to Sue and I. We had lunch today and I know I helped her. And that's what you're taking home with you. That's what you're pulling out at the dinner table in the conversation. When somebody says, how was your day? You're not going to talk about your cringy boss. You're going to say, you know what? I had lunch with Sue today. And it was really special. And I'm so glad that I could be there for her. Or I made this great pivot table. I don't know why I always use this example. I think it's because I am the worst Excel person in the world. I organized all of the data today. And now the managers know how we're doing. Everybody's going to have a different thing that lights them up. But if you start having career conversations with yourself and saying to yourself, that was good. You did good today, babe. Let's do it again tomorrow. We create our life with our words, and you have the ability to do that no matter what kind of boss and leader that you have. And you may even develop the gumption to go find an organization to work for that you are a better fit for. I'm a fan of that too. Here's another one. Set personal boundaries to protect the parts of your job that light you up. So put some guardrails around. This is what I like to do. Volunteer to do more of that. Also, set personal boundaries around your time and your energy, because you will always be at the mercy of giving too much if you don't. And when you're drained physically and emotionally, none of these suggestions that I'm giving you are going to be all that helpful if you're too drained. You deserve to have rest, no matter what your boss or your leader says. Decide to take it. Most employees wait for someone to tell them what they should do. The most successful employees, they define it for themselves. You were brought into this world to create your life. God is a creative genius, and he made us all as creators in his identity. So now you don't have to be a boss or a leader, but you can create a great life. So how do you do this if your manager or your leader doesn't get it yet? At a high level, stop waiting for permission to step into your strengths. Start defining success on your own terms and shift your focus from approval to impact. Like I said, get a journal. Start taking notes on those moments where you feel energized and impactful. Here's one that I like. Set up your own one-on-one meeting. If your boss isn't one that checks in, you can have your own check-in. Check in with yourself. Like I said, I love this weekly. Do a one-on-one meeting every Friday afternoon, 2:00. It's on your calendar. It says check-in meeting. And you're going to sit down with a cup of coffee and your journal, and you're going to check in with yourself. And you're going to say, hey, babe, how'd we do this week? And then you're going to smile to yourself. I want you to hear my voice. Hey, babe, how'd we do this week? And you're going to smile and you're going to say, you know what? We did okay. We had some challenges. We overcame them. Or whatever it is. You can do this for yourself. Say no to work that doesn't align, even in small ways. You might be surprised. Once you start exercising the no, it becomes a powerful way of owning your own life. So if your manager or your leader isn't guiding you, that doesn't mean that you're stuck. It means you have an even bigger opportunity to take ownership of your career in the way that most people never will. So if you really want to set yourself apart, this is the way to do it. When you're sitting there with your cup of coffee and your journal and somebody comes by and says, what are you doing? You say, having my one-on-one meeting. They'll say, with who? With me? Because my career matters to me. Just watch them shake their head and walk away. And you just sit there and smile, knowing that you have created an advantage for yourself that they don't understand yet. The age of humanity is what we're going for. But it starts with you and me and everybody taking that personal responsibility and care and concern for our own lives. You're not just a worker. You're not just a cog in the system. You're valuable because of who you are, not just what you produce. Stop waiting for validation and own your value and your worth the way God intended. And if you are a part of an organization and a leader in an organization listening to this today, if you don't empower your employees to find meaning in their work, you will lose them. Period. The age of humanity isn't about waiting for leadership to change. It's about individuals at every level choosing to lead themselves first. Work isn't just about productivity. It's about purpose. And that starts with knowing your own worth, not waiting for someone else to define it for you. I love you. And I want this for all of us more than you can ever imagine. So if I can help you, please reach out. If you're having some wins and successes with some of the things that you hear and learn on the podcast, I would love to hear about it, because this is, to me, how we change the world, is by changing the way that we work. And it's not about changing the way that we work. It's about changing us, knowing us, and then showing up at work, healed, whole, ready to serve. All right, until next week, love you, mean it. Bye.
I'm not coming down. I never left it on the ground. I'm not coming down.
Thanks for being here. You can follow us on Instagram, Business is Human, or TikTok, Rebecca Fleetwood Hession. It's a great way to share some of the clips with your colleagues and friends. All right, make it a great day. Love you, mean it.